Hey everybody, Kyle Goth here from GoatFilmReviews.com and the Goat Film Reviews YouTube channel, and I've got my first thoughts, my quick reaction to the new film, The Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. This is directed by Wes Ball. It is the fourth installment of the Planet of the Apes prequel series, the 10th installment overall, I believe. Yeah, I always think in my head that there's one less because I forget that there's that damn Tim Burton one. This film is, first film for Wes Ball in the series. It's the first film in the prequels to not have Caesar. We are set many generations later, and we are picking up with Noah, who is played by Owen Teague. You might remember him from films like It, to Leslie. He's actually been popping up a lot lately, and you can see the nice thing about him is you can see him in his performance as Noah, which I think is a strong example of the same thing that I felt about Caesar, played by Andy Serkis, was that I felt like I saw Andy Serkis still within that character. I saw the emotion that I could recognize from Andy Serkis's performance in the character, which is a strong win to have there. Set many generations later, it follows the Eagle clan of apes. I think that's what they're called, the Eagle clan. They're bird raisers, basically, living off the land and trying to do right. But they get invaded by these guys these apes who speak on behalf of Caesar. And basically, they've perverted Caesar's words to kind of mean what they want them to mean. They're led by a man named Proximus Caesar, not a man, ape. Again, apes and men. They're led by an ape named Proximus Caesar, who basically has taken all of Andy Serkis's character's words and kind of perverted them into this kind of manifesto, if you will. And so all of his family gets kidnapped. Noah goes on a journey to try and get them back, and he ends up coming across a human. This isn't actually a human, an echo as they call them, and has to team up with her in order to rescue his family and defeat Proximus. So this was, for me, if you followed me for any amount of time, I loved the last three Planet of the Apes movies. I actually am a big fan of all of them except for the Tim Burton one. And so going into this, War for the Planet of the Apes was in my top 10 films of the last decade when I did that a countdown of that before. So, I was very excited. And this is a good movie. It's a good kind of reboot, kickstart to another trilogy set many years later. So it's kind of picking up, and we're kind of having to spend a little bit of time getting things figured out. But it's a good movie. It's a little bit long. I don't know that it needs to be 2 hours and 25 minutes. But I like that we're kind of spending time with, it's almost like a coming of age story for Noah, which we didn't entirely get that with Caesar, because in Rise of the Planet of the Apes, there is a time jump from when he's very young to when he is an adult, well, more of an adult. And I think this is something where we get to spend time with a younger character kind of learning this world, and also seeing how things have changed in the hundreds of years since Caesar's time. The world has forgotten what's happened before, and there's small sects of people that still kind of, not people, apes, small sects of apes that are kind of carrying on Caesar's word and the good things that he thought about and sought for. And then there's also guys that are changing it. And it reminds me a lot of, the kind of people that kind of claim they do hateful things in the name of their religion, or do they do hateful things in the name of twisting people's words. The amount of times that we see somebody misusing Martin Luther King Jr.'s words to claim something, something about their own, completely altered perception of the world. It does happen quite a bit. And you especially see that on MLK Day. But that also happens too in the religious idea of, we're going to make this, this holy war take place because that's what the written word is. And there's that perversion that's being done there, and it's very, very noticeable. And that's how Proximus Caesar is kind of taking things. He's even got Caesar's name in his. We don't know if he's like lineage related in any way, but we know that he believes himself to be the next incarnation of such. Noah's character is really interesting. I liked Freya Allen in the film, although I do think there's another character, Raka, that Noah takes up on his journey with, and we didn't get to spend as much time with Raka. He doesn't have as much to do in the narrative as I would have hoped, but what he does do is really good. I kind of wish we had more of that, because I think he's a more interesting character than May, the Echo human character that Noah's with. Proximus Caesar, played by Kevin Durand. I love Kevin Durand, and I'm so happy he's getting more to do this year with Abigail, with this film. My biggest problem with Proximus Caesar is I don't feel like, as a villain, that we fully understand his methodology, that we understand how he's like, we see him misusing the language of Caesar, but we don't really dive into that at all once he's introduced. That's something that's been happening in the journey to him, but not once we get to him. And I wish that we'd have fleshed him out more as a villain, because I think Duran can really own that and really go somewhere. And Proximus is one of those guys I could not figure out who was playing him, and then looking at it after the fact and thinking of Kevin Durant's ability to elevate that kind of material, that genre stuff, fantastic. I just wish we got more diving into his character, because once he appears in the film, it kind of takes a different direction. Would have liked a little bit more than that. But overall, this is a pretty solid start to another couple of Apes films. While not being as strong as Dawn or War, it's still a good movie overall, and one that I think has a very visual sensation to it. It looks a little bit different than the previous films because we've jumped ahead so much in time, but it also feels like it's the same world. It feels like it's a continuation. It feels like we still have characters that are talking, that are signing and speaking English, and some of it broken English. Like, we have that kind of that transformation in the language that's been happening across the series. The only thing that kind of frustrates me is it seems like these prequel films can't really decide if they want humans to talk or not talk. In the last film, they kind of were headed down this path of the simian flu. The survivors were kind of losing their ability to have speech patterns, and I thought that was interesting. And they introduced a character in this film that can speak still, but then they just kind of introduced a couple other humans that can speak too, and it's almost like we're just kind of going the opposite direction of what was set up in War, without really diving into that. Because, I mean, that would be a big deal. If this thing took away speech patterns and then all of a sudden people come back with it, let's dive into that a little bit more. Because they kind of hint at, like, this is unique that this character can speak. But then we see others that can, and we're never touching on it. So just kind of those frustration things, nitpicks really, but I think they are things I would like to see kind of leveled off if they're going to continue making these films, because this is a solid continuation of the series, and I'm looking forward to what comes next. Let me know your thoughts down below on Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And while you're down there, please like and subscribe. There are 2 free things you can do that help support the channel immensely, and you never miss new episodes of the show as they drop. You can also find goatfilmreviews.com for my many written reviews. You can find Goat Film Reviews on Facebook. You can follow me personally at Almighty Goatman on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Threads. You can find my show Kyle and Nick on Film that I co-host with Nick Plotchuk from the St. Paul Filmcast. We have new episodes of that show every single week. We also have I'm a member of the Minnesota Film Critics Alliance. Check out the webpage for them, and you can get more information on other critics in our area as well as my own. Thank you so much for joining us.